If you just go to ADCC rule set with only Jiu-Jitsu, you're gonna have problems. If you don't know how to play the rule, it's gonna be a huge problem.
The rule set allows wrestling to be exploited, but no one's quite done it yet.
You know, nowadays you see most of the No Gi guys, they do a lot of wrestling. Because I believe wrestling is a huge part of the No Gi game.
Wrestling is something that's really important. On ADCC specifically, if the guy can hold on to take you to the overtime, if he's a wrestler, that's it. You're gonna lose.
And the wrestling jiu-jitsu game is still being figured out, because there's that, what wrestling moves can we use safely that we won't get submitted doing?
It's the most prestigious grappling tournament in the world. It's not even a jiu-jitsu tournament, right? It's a grappling tournament for all the grappling arts, right? The sambo guys, the wrestlers. There used to be some judokas in there.
We already have Olympic wrestlers or international level wrestlers. We have internationally ranked guys in sambo and judo. It's a interesting competition.
So you have to, it's a submission wrestling tournament. That's what it is. It's basically a wrestling tournament with submissions. And it just so happens that the guard players have tried to adapt their style, you know, and pull guard when there's no points, so they don't get that negative. But still, I think if you're going to win the tournament, you have to have good wrestling, because in the finals you can't pull guard. So what are you going to do? Even if you're a phenomenal guard player and you can get all the way to the finals, what are you going to do in the finals?
I think the stand-up part is really important. And it's no gi wrestling is very good, useful for no gi. And I used to train a lot judo when I was competing with the gi, and a lot of wrestling when I was competing no gi. So it is because it's a lot harder physically to train stand-up. So as in terms of physical preparation for a fight, it's a big help for you to train stand-up than if you just train on the ground. Is less physical.
The goal, from what I've understood over the past 12 years doing this event, is they want to attract all grapplers of all styles. They don't want to be so for jiu-jitsu or so for wrestling or so for judo. I mean, they give incredible amount of points. If you throw someone and get across the side around the guard, that's a 4-point throw. That's a lot of points.
I think it's very important. You know, it's amazing tools to have in this event. You need to have all of the tools. I think if you come in lacking in a corner or lacking in an area, you probably won't make it far. You need to have all of the skills to be able to make it to each part of the division. Wrestling is a huge element, especially leading into the final matches, because you can't pull guard.
You know, I think Jiu-Jitsu guys are getting better at wrestling. I think wrestlers are learning how to avoid Jiu-Jitsu a little more. It's always going to evolve. There's always going to be something that takes control. But I think on the rule set of ADCC, wrestling is a huge thing.
For the ADCC, in No Gi especially, a lot of the scrambles turn into a rest. If someone's got good balance, if you're not chasing down a single leg, you probably won't get them over. They're gonna, it's rare to just go from top to bottom in a sweep now. It's like you go to sweep, they balance, you have to chase them down and finish it. So.
That about ADCC, and I believe that this has helped Jiu-Jitsu evolve tremendously, you know, because I truly believe that everyone should know how to take down, should be really great on their feet, especially because we do a fight which is developed in the ground. So how can you be good at something that if that it's developed in the ground and you can't actually put your opponent in the ground?
You would have a gap on your game. You know, the more complete you are, the better fighter you are. So I'm not gonna say it's necessary to have a good stand-up, but it's definitely a plus. You know, it will definitely help you.
What I like about ADCC, it's a lot of mind games, a lot of strategy. You need to know exactly when to attack, how to attack. You know, you have to use the 5 minute non-points wise. You have to come up to that 5 minutes with points, you know, smart about it. And that's what I like about ADCC, because it makes the wrestlers learn how to either avoid jiu-jitsu or do some jiu-jitsu, and make the jiu-jitsu guys get better at wrestling.
Most fights do start on your feet and they are dictated, you know, where they goes. And I feel like the person who has to pull guard is ultimately, you know, allowing the other person to have the upper hand and concede position. So if you do have to pull guard, I feel like you are lacking a skill set. And I think this rule set in itself makes that very aware. Like if you pull guard, you're going to get a negative. And if you feel like your guard is that good that you can pull guard and you can take a negative, then good for you, you know, go for it.
You know, you require a lot more energy to take somebody down, you know, than try to sweep him from your guard. So it's, I think, as you know, taking out the technical part of it, that does make you a lot better standing up. I think the physical is a big plus also.
You see how much every one of the jiu-jitsu competitors have been dedicating themselves on learning wrestling. You know, you see that, like, man, like going to wrestling schools, being part of high school camps and all of that, you know, just to improve their wrestling. And it's amazing. It's really a big part of ADCC for you to be good on your feet.
You know what I mean? You think that all the shortcuts and tricks have already been figured out by now, and then something comes along and changes the game, and you see arguably some of the guys beat guys that are better than them in all other areas. You know what I think, and I think even Danaher said this, I think the next big wave in jiu-jitsu will be driven from jiu-jitsu athletes with legitimate wrestling skills, because what's going to happen is there's going to come an ADCC where a guy with legit wrestling skills is going to come along and destroy the competition. Not destroy him, but submit him, but just expose a huge hole we will have in jiu-jitsu. And ADCC, the rule set allows wrestling to be exploited. but no one's quite done it yet. You know what I mean? Like, and I think someone's gonna come along, kill everyone with wrestling, and I think that'll be the next big jump in jiu-jitsu.
But it is definitely a very strong suit to the sport in this competition. You need to be on your game on all ends, and wrestling is probably one of the most important aspects of the ADCC rule set.
A sad thing about Jiu-Jitsu is that when it's practiced, there's almost always a kind of gentleman's agreement that there's going to be a top player and a bottom player. And if you start in the bottom, you stay in the bottom. When you look at the notion of escape in Jiu-Jitsu, the overwhelming majority of escapes in the sport of Jiu-Jitsu are escapes to guard position. And so when you start in bottom position, you tend to stay in bottom position. Now contrast that with the sport of wrestling, where the overwhelming majority of escapes are escapes to standing back up to a neutral position on your feet. That means that when Jiu-Jitsu players face other forms of grappling, they're not trying to put us back in guard, they're trying to stand up. And Jiu-Jitsu players never practice against that when they're doing their daily training. And so suddenly you've got a guy who just assumes for his entire career that if he's on top, the other guy's going to play guard. And this guy's not playing guard at all. He's just pushing your head, standing up and hip-hoisting up to his feet. The jiu-jitsu guy's like, well, I had top position. Why aren't you playing guard? And so they're now put into an area where nothing in their training has really prepared them for this. And jiu-jitsu is going to have to mature. I've always said jiu-jitsu is one of the greatest products I ever saw in my life. I wouldn't have invested 30 years of my life into jiu-jitsu if I didn't believe that with all my heart and all my soul. But like any great product, it has its deficiencies. Jiu-jitsu always had 3 major deficiencies: leg locks, takedowns, and thirdly, the one that no one talks about, the ability to impose top position once it's gained. Jiu-jitsu has to do something about the crisis which is starting to emerge around takedowns and the ability to impose top position.
Hello everyone, I just want to take a quick moment to thank the sponsor of this video, Adapt. Adapt make really high quality jiu-jitsu gear with nice, clean and smart looking designs. If you like my videos and you want to see more, please use the code Cooper15 for a 15% discount, and it will really help to support my channel and keep more video content coming for free.